The Flicks Book Club.
The Flicks Book Club.
Yeah, I'm not doing this.
Hey, welcome to Netflix Book Club, everybody. My name's Dennis Rooney.
I'm Steve McDonald.
I'm Casey Aurora.
This week we watched Supermensch, The Legend of Shep Gordon. It was directed by Mike Myers. This movie's about a manager.
Right.
He's a Jewish guy from Oceanside, I think, Long Island, New
yeah.
York.
Yeah.
Graduates high school or college, rather, and goes to a job helping, troubled youth in prison. Doesn't fit in, so he goes to L.A. like everybody else did and drops acid and
becomes a manager.
Just works his way in, just like through happenstance, works his way into celebrity.
It's all happenance.
Culture.
It's all happenance.
Yeah, his whole life seems to be happenstance.
Why'd you pick it?
I picked this movie. I've heard about it on WTF with Mark Maron, another podcast maybe you've heard of.
Right.
And it was Mike Myers on there, and he was just talking about this dude, Shep Gordon. And Mike Myers was doing an impression of him, and his voice is kind of like deep, and he's just very like plain guy, and he sounds a little bit like Hollywood managed type.
Yeah.
And he is, and it
Right.
fits him very well. But Mike Myers just spoke so highly of him, and it sounded like he was going to have so many cool Hollywood stories that I was, when I saw it on Netflix, I was like, why not? I never choose documentaries. Let me check this one out, and it was pretty new. Whether you should stream it or not, I'm going to go with don't stream it.
Wow.
But I honestly think
I'm
I
saying
might
wow
get swayed.
because of it's your own choice. So it's weird.
So do you think I just want to? I was thinking about that.
So when someone says don't stream it on their own choice, it's almost like, hey, I watched a movie. Don't watch this movie. That's what you're saying.
Here's the thing. I think
I mean, that's what this whole podcast is built on.
Right, I know, but it's like when it's like a movie you pick yourself. You're like, hey, I watched this by my own choice. Don't watch it.
I might change my mind, though. I'm reserving my right to change my mind because I want to talk about this movie, though. I want to talk about this dude. It's an interesting movie. It's a barely don't stream it.
Okay.
And I might change my mind. So what do you guys think?
All right, Steven?
I'm going to go with stream it. I love these movies.
Yeah.
There's another movie on called You'll Know I'm Dead When I Stop Talking. Something along those lines about Jerry Weintraub, who's another one of these
Rock
guys
and roll
that
guy, right? He was a drummer. Was he the drummer dude?
No. He was another manager agent guy who just who did cool things, and all of his stories are awesome. And so I just love these kind of movies.
Okay, so you're saying stream it.
Yeah, I'm saying stream it.
I'm going to go with the stream it. Yeah, I think it's got a little bit of everything. It's got, a lot of craziness, a lot of heart. And I think because of that, I'm picking it. Like, it's a man who, it's an interesting career. And, he's still alive. So I always like that. That's kind of nice.
Yeah, that is nice.
And it's got some really ups and downs, a historical lesson in music, which I always find interesting because I'm not a big music history guy. So to learn new things about it, it's kind of cool to me. So I'd say stream it.
Well, I got some questions for you guys then.
Okay.
And I bet you will change my mind, but maybe not. Maybe I'll dig my heels in. So go watch the movie and come back and we'll talk about it.
So he set up an appointment with Teddy at his apartment. In the front of the apartment building was a white Rolls Royce, Teddy on the license plate. And I take the elevator up to the penthouse. I said, I'm not going to waste a lot of your time. There's very few things I know in life. But I'll tell you what I can do. I can get higher than you. I got more beautiful women than you. I can get drunker than you. And when you collapse and the cash is in your pocket from the show, I'll still be up to get the cash out and make sure it's safe so you don't get robbed.
Okay, who would you rather hang out with? Shep Gordon or the bulletproof salesman guy, German dude?
I would,
Shep Gordon.
I think Shep Gordon.
I think
Hands
Shep
down.
Gordon, yeah, Shep Gordon.
I don't know why I have an issue with this film. Something doesn't sit right with me.
What
about
doesn't
this dude.
sit right? Like what doesn't?
I don't know, man. He's too nice.
Like let's go through.
He's got money.
I love that all it is just this Irish negative inside you that's just like I don't know, I don't trust this guy. He's real nice. He seems to help people. I just can't imagine this.
It doesn't sit right with me for you to dislike this movie because this guy is everything that I could see not you becoming, but in a way you sort of are. It can become.
Oh,
wow. But we're not the manager type. But
are you guys trying to make me feel weird this podcast
no,
already?
It's because
I'm the only one who disagrees. You're telling me I'm a cheap a broke Shep Gordon.
Yeah, right
I can't
now.
take compliments at the top of the podcast, guys.
All we're saying is this: we feel like in the next couple of years, you're going to lose your hair into a very interesting horseshoe of hair. You're going to get glasses, and you're going to become Jewish.
This guy looked 40 when he was 20, and he was still pulling Insane Tail. Will someone explain that to me?
Because it was.
What is with this dude's game? Was it all drugs, or what's the deal?
It's confidence and drugs, and I think let's just. It's what it is. There's two. The plot is fairly simple. It's a guy who wants to end up. He wants to ride his white horse into helping troubled youth. The place that he goes to help these kids, they make him go into like this pen with other children who beat the hell out of him.
He's got long hair, so the other guards don't like him either. You know what I mean? They don't help him out.
So he ends up.
But I will say that shows that even before he had money, he had a good heart, and he wanted to help people.
Yes, and then he ends up staying at this hotel. And
meets Janis Joplin, Jimi Hendrix.
Right. And then they ask him, he's like, you should be a manager. He's like, oh, who should you manage? The guy says Alice Cooper. And then it goes from there, and he ends up becoming a manager, and he comes up with these wild schemes and ideas to get attention paid to Alice Cooper, which pay off in the end. He takes on different clients, a variety of clients, a wide range of clients. Arnold Schwarzenegger, what's it called? Teddy Pendergrass, Luther Vandross. Like, it's just such an array of different people.
Yeah.
And
who was the Canadian folk singer?
Annie something.
And that was the first one he picked up after Alice Cooper, which was, nothing could be further from Alice Cooper than
stark contrast, because it was actually music closer that he enjoyed himself, like a folk type music. And it characterized this guy's life. Like, because of this guy, they have celebrity chefs.
Yeah, he really is the guy behind that whole thing, which I didn't know.
Chefs were just people that were flown around, and they cooked, and they made very little money. And he made chefs into the whole Food Network. Is basically somebody created this idea, the person who owns CNN, and then
Shep Gordon had his hand in a lot of things.
Yeah.
A lot of origin stories.
Right. This guy is
Why don't I like this movie more?
I can't answer that question for you.
Yeah, we really
You know what?
can't
I have this written down
you.
is why did Mike Myers make this movie? And I feel like you guys are saying the answer right now is that, like, he, even I just said it, he had his hand in so many origin stories.
Well, this is the thing is that he seemed like from the moment that he was just doing things, like there's a lot of these guys where they're fun people and they're fun to hang out with and they're cool, and then what happens is that, and I don't want to say that it's like it's always money involved, but it's like if you're a carefree person and then the first gig that you like put together in the first couple years explodes and you just have millions of dollars, it's a lot easier to just kind of like hang out. It's a lot easier to just kind of like to be like, oh, I want to do that, and I want to do that, and I want to do that, because you have the means to be able to do it.
Yeah, but they
toiled.
So
he had,
and I'd argue that they did kind of toil for a while.
They were
I think it was the chicken head thing put them on the map a little bit, and then even then they put all that money into. What happened? That they made their money in Britain the first time, their first money.
Yes. Basically, they had an ad with Alice Cooper naked. And he had a boa constrictor wrapped around his body, around his private parts, and then they had the truck which had this huge ad. Fake breakdown in Piccadilly, which is like the central hub of London.
Yeah,
and
Times Square, London.
Yeah, essentially. And because of it, so much attention was paid to him. And then they had sold 50 seats originally in like a 10,000 seat spot.
Yeah.
And then they ended up selling out.
And next day.
Yeah, and then they went on a world tour literally right after. And those kinds of things.
I'm changing my mind. Watch this
wow,
movie.
Only 8 minutes in.
8 minutes in.
There's something I want to get. It gets. The documentary doesn't get dark towards the end, but I liked the first hour a lot more than I liked the last half hour. Mm-hmm. But I guess it's because it goes through his life, and in the last half hours he's talking about maybe he's going to die alone. He's kind of got a family now, but he's still, he's been divorced. He had a marriage
somebody else's kids that he takes care of. Yeah. But he doesn't have any kids of his own. And I think the reason why Mike Myers might have made this movie is to celebrate this guy's legacy, because he may not have children.
Well, and he said, Mike Myers said in the movie that he was going through a rough part in his life, and he asked if he could come and stay there. Yeah. And he's just like, yeah, totally, come by. And he stayed there for 2 months.
Right.
And it's like, I don't know whether I have very close friends. I don't know whether they let me stay at their place for 2 months.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd let you
I'm
stay
so
at mine
sorry
for 2
to our
hours.
listeners that I even started with a don't stream this. I don't know why. There was something about this movie that I wanted to talk about this movie, but if I had not been able to talk about this movie with you guys, I might not have given it such a better review.
Well, no, and
like,
that's
it's a celebration of a nice guy, and I don't know why I had
It's
issue
a
with that.
celebration
I'm
of
sorry.
life is really what
Of
it comes.
life, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope if I had money like that, I would like to do that too, like an open door policy. I kind of love that idea of being like having all that money and still being just like a social dude and being like fun to be around and hang out with.
Well, no, and that's, the funny thing is like I run into a lot of people at my work where I'm like, how do you know all of these people? Like they're friends with all of these different people. They have connections everywhere. And they're like, and literally what I've been told 3 or 4 times by 3 or 4 different people is, I just do a lot of drugs in different places.
Yeah.
Like, I just do a lot of drugs in different places, and that's how I'm friends with all these people. And that seems to be, to a certain extent, like this guy. Like he literally, like Shep literally just seems like he's like, yeah, I just really like doing drugs, and so I ended up at parties where I was doing a lot of drugs, and then I would be like, yo, what's up?
Doing drugs with people or, like, drinking a lot of alcohol with people is a certain bonding experience that, like, if they're the two right people...
Yeah,
Right.
It's very like him and Teddy Pendergrass had the drug off, which sounds ridiculous, but
Well, tell the people who, if they didn't watch the movie because they thought to follow your advice, don't stream it.
Your
at the
bad
beginning.
advice.
Yeah.
wait, explain what? I'm
Explain
sorry.
the drug off. What
the drug off
yeah.
was this: is that Shep wanted to manage Teddy Pendergrass. Teddy Pendergrass was kind of on the fence, and Shep said, "Listen, I got better drugs than you, I got better women than you, and I can do more drugs than you, and all that." And let's get a hotel room. Let's
Which is
go
really
somewhere.
brazen to say to a smooth black
Yeah.
man like Teddy Pendergrass.
I wasn't
Teddy
familiar.
Pendergrass was like butter.
I wasn't familiar with Teddy Pendergrass. I want to sleep with Teddy Pendergrass now, but I
Smooth as
can't
butter. Right.
because he's a guy and he doesn't work from the chest down.
Right.
Which was extremely sad. No, I'm not making fun of the guy. I mean,
Right.
it's- but like he was another one where okay, so anyway, him and Teddy Pendergrass literally they go someplace and they stayed up for 3 days straight, and finally Teddy collapsed and Shep got to manage him after that.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's being able to always be in control. Shep said that about like being able to be the last one awake at the party to make sure he said I'm gonna be the guy who takes the money out of your pocket and make sure no one
and nobody steals.
I'm gonna hold you down. Like he is such a trustworthy dude and a loyal dude. And I knew Steven was gonna like this movie, at least when I saw the one part that the scene in Almost Famous was based off of him. Explain that.
The scene in Almost Famous where they're in the airplane and it starts to go down is based on him being in the Alice Cooper airplane, and Cameron Crowe was doing a story, I think, for Rolling Stone.
Yeah.
Who was probably like
About-
16 at the time.
Yeah, he was like 16 because that movie was based on him. And one of the roadies in it, like as they're about to go down, thinking they're all gonna die, he tells one of the people that his wife, who's pregnant, it's not his kid, it's the other roadies. And then the plane immediately evens out, and the guy is like, "Hey, we're gonna be fine. Sorry about that."
Yeah, the pilot says that.
The pilot says that. And then they all just sat for another 3 hours on the flight, just really
awkward,
quietly
twiddling their
and
thumbs.
awkwardly being like,
Ugh.
"What just happened?"
I couldn't imagine being in that day-to-day circus of just traveling. Like, I mean, as a comic, I want to, but you'd be by yourself in hotels all the time
Well,
alone.
I mean, they had
as
a
opposed
crew.
to
They had a
a
crew
huge
going.
crew. I didn't realize that Alice Cooper was so
It was huge.
Oh, yeah, he was
hinged
huge.
so much on theatrics.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I'm not
So
a fan.
either.
I knew he dressed up, and it's not like I'm not a fan in a bad way. It's not my kind of music.
Mhm.
But I
Yeah.
didn't know that that's what put him on the map. Was like it was a show. It was
It was an experience.
it was burlesque. Is that what
Sort
they
of.
described
It was
as?
like sort of
Vaudeville.
Vaudeville, burlesque,
yeah.
not quite burlesque.
Burlesque, he didn't strip.
I mean, he did. He did a lot of stuff.
Sometimes he
They
did.
did some awesome stuff, man. Putting panties on the record.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like watching this movie and watching the stuff that Shep came up with to get them famous. I'm like, how come more people aren't doing this?
Right. That's what I
To get
started.
famous. I was like, I should be doing public pranks or something, putting my name on a billboard. I don't know,
Well, no, and I feel like there was a great period of time in the 70s and the 80s and even into the 90s, essentially pre-internet, where there were all of these cool, weird, interesting things you could do that didn't rely on now, when you look at that thing where it's like, why aren't people doing that now? It's like they're doing it on YouTube.
Yeah.
It's young kids that
But
are our age or
it's not.
younger.
YouTube has
doing
become
things on YouTube.
the no difference than flyering. Really, it's so
yeah,
common.
no, and
That's true. Yeah.
that's the
Yeah.
thing is that it's there was a time period where it's when they put the panties on the record, everybody went to the record shop. Like, you had to go to a physical place
Yeah.
and pick up a thing to be like the equivalent of that now is Drake dropping his album at 1 a.m. or whatever
On iTunes
and not telling anybody. Like,
Right.
that's the equivalent these days, is that it's like, yeah, I'm just going to put this up with nobody paying attention to me.
Yeah, little
Watch
like,
how good
publicity
I'm watch how
plays,
good
you
I'm
know?
going to do. Where like that's a publicity play in
not
itself.
I mean, because people are paying attention to Drake. So that's why something like that spirals out of control. He already has the attention, therefore he delivers the product.
Yeah.
What Shep did was
but
garner the attention. He didn't, and
Yeah.
they didn't really have much of. He's like, "Hey, come watch this," and they would do these wild things, and it's like, "Oh, but we got to continue to do these wild things to gain attention because you also need a product too." You know what I mean? They didn't really have a product. Alice Cooper had a song which was telling "You Hate Me." That was his song, and he would sing. That was the first song he sang. Opening for the Doors.
Awful.
And it was awful. And
Yeah.
here's Alice Cooper is just this guy who shows up wearing a jacket with dead rats sewn to it.
Yeah.
And that's just like, oh, and he doesn't, his first song is You Hate Me, and he's singing this to people. It's a packed room, and they're like, yeah, all right, we're not really into this.
Yeah.
And then,
There's a very fine line between trying to do something crazy to get attention and
Yeah.
like sewing dead rats to your jacket.
right, it's crazy is like, that's at that fine line you have to walk.
You have to
Yeah.
maintain that character though. If you have dead rats sewn to your jacket, like you can't go to the bar and order a drink. You need to like
you can't order a soda.
you can't have normal you can't have normal interactions that night. You
Right.
need to be Alice Cooper then for the rest of the night.
Well, and that was actually one of the most interesting things to me was listening to Alice Cooper talk about Alice Cooper.
yeah, talking about Alice
where
Cooper.
he's like, well, yeah, Alice had to do these things, and it's like, that's you, and it's like, it's not. It's
But
like
it's not
100%
Right.
a character he plays.
The only thing that stays when he's not in that character are those dead hollow eyes he has.
Yeah.
And he really does. But yeah, watching Alice Cooper driving around with Shep in like
A golf cart.
in a
A
golf
golf
cart,
cart,
just
yeah.
waving to everybody, like the old dudes on the course. You
Yeah.
know what I
Right.
mean? It was interesting. I don't know, but
The family,
even still, there's something about this movie where like it's kind of boring.
yeah.
It's a little boring. It's a good story.
There were at
it's well
times,
done.
There were at times where I found myself getting like nodding off a little bit, like drifting away, and just kind of going like, okay, what's going? Like you hear all these crazy stories. You know what this movie is to me? It's like when you meet somebody who has stories. Like
Yeah.
that uncle or that friend or somebody who has like just crazy stories, and they're telling you these crazy
But
stories.
there's going to be lulls between those stories.
Yeah, and there's a couple lulls
Yeah.
there's lulls between the stories, and that's what the story of Shep Gordon is. There are a couple lulls in the stories, but then when you piece them together and you sit there and you're watching this thing because it's a documentary about his life, you go, oh man, this guy has led a pretty interesting life, and then you start to think about like, wow, this dude lived a life that people would pay money to record. And they'd create another, like a TV show off of it. But then what really sold me on this thing was his human side. The fact that he's alone, that he's had relationships that just didn't work out, that he wanted children and it didn't come to fruition.
Yeah.
That he'd been married. He was with Sharon Stone for a while. He was with a Playboy Playmate for a minute.
The end of this documentary is like almost. I think we're all a little afraid of that, of being having success, having all the things you've worked really hard for in life, and kind of having no one super, super close to you at all times to share that with. And maybe that's where that open door policy comes from and that friendliness.
Well, and I think that
it's not disingenuine, but it's still...
He doesn't want to end up alone, and he keeps that option open because he doesn't know what's coming his way, and he has to.
Yeah, he's also one of those guys, and I mean, we're all kind of like that, where it's like, I don't want to be tied down because something might come along.
Right.
Something might be around the corner. He said himself, he's like, I might have another couple years of fooling around still in me,
Yeah.
Right.
And this is a dude who's done more fooling around than many, many people. No head, no backstage pass.
There's a T-shirt he's wearing, and it says that, no head, no backstage pass, and that to me was wild.
That's wild, and it's offensive, but it's also like, that dude's a badass right there. Like that's,
but it's also very accurate.
Well, no,
it's
and
a different time.
I think that one of the interesting things to me was when he was explaining how to throw a dinner party. I thought that was really, really interesting.
Yeah,
like because I'm the type of person where it's like I don't really like having people over. I don't like entertaining at all, and it definitely like gave me a certain level of like, yeah, that would actually be kind of fun.
What did he talk about that? Like, what was the thing that he did?
The thing that he mentioned with it was that it's like you have to, and he learned it from the French chef that he decided he wanted to like learn from, was that when you're throwing a dinner party, it's all about other people. It's not what you want.
You're in service for the night.
You are in service of other people for the night.
Yes.
And that will feel good because you put out an atmosphere where you made people feel good.
Right.
And
that's how I throw dinner parties.
When was the last time you threw a dinner party?
Threw a dinner party like
you having dinner parties without me?
Yeah, I had a dinner party 7 months ago. It was nice.
Where was I?
You weren't around. You were busy. So
I feel like I'm getting in the middle of a lover's spat.
This podcast is over.
Yeah.
But that's, I mean, it really was like, I feel like the things that I saw throughout this movie that, you know, like that touched me was this moment of like, it really is like a set of life lessons from this guy who is having a good time and doing it right. Like he's hanging out with friends, he's doing cool stuff, he's having all of this fun, but at the same time it's like, be good to people. Being nice. Like I liked his entire thing of like, you know, when there's a deal coming together, because I try to do this with work that I'm doing, is that it's like when a deal is coming together, it's like there shouldn't be winners and losers. There should just be winners.
Right.
Yeah.
I've read that before where there's no such, you don't have to have a win-lose situation.
Yeah.
You can aim, the best situation to aim for is win-win, where everybody wins.
Yeah.
And I like the fact that, you learn these things. There's little nuggets of gold about life lessons. And what I like is like then this guy decides from going to management, goes into the culinary world, manages there as well, but then now just starts to discover his own personal growth and starts to work from there. And he works with the Dalai Lama.
Yeah, he kind of starts to figure out who he is.
Right.
And that's something that's nice about having that much money. Not that you need a lot of money to do it, but like...
It helps.
But yeah, it helps. But like even when he has all this money, he doesn't just kind of retire off to Maui. He's like... I'm really into culinary now, and like I'm going to learn how to cook, and I'm going to try to do it to the highest level, and I'm going to take it seriously. And when you have that kind of money, you can approach a world-famous French chef and say, hey, I'm a cool enough guy. If you smoke pot, we'll get along, and take me everywhere and train me, and I'll be cool and quiet.
One of the best parts of that
That's awesome.
of the entire movie was him going up to that guy, and he's sitting there with Pablo Picasso, and it immediately stops, and on the screen it just says, "This is not true."
Right.
Pablo Picasso died in 78.
73
or 73.
Yeah.
And
Shep was very high at the time.
very high.
Yeah. And then he goes, you know what? I might have been really high at that point.
That's really high. Is that true?
Yeah, that's what he said. He says like, yeah, I might have been really high. And that's what it is. And it's just like I hate that it kind of does glorify drugs extensively.
It kind of does a little bit, but he made a point to say, like, you know, Alice Cooper was in rehab, so many people had died, like he knew when to pump the brakes.
Right.
But from day one it seemed like he had a stamina and a tolerance of crazy proportions.
He's one of those people that confuses me completely.
Right.
Where like he's like, yeah, I did all of these drugs and then I just stopped. And I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Right.
What do you mean?
But that's the thing.
I don't even think that he stopped. I think he just kind of pumped the brakes. Like
right.
I'm pretty sure Shep Gordon still probably smokes weed.
Yeah. That's the tamest of the things. Yeah. He's not sitting there dropping acid.
I do love that when he became Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix's agent, or when he became their manager, he like
I don't think he was their manager. I think he was just their friend.
No, he was. He became their manager because he brought him in and he was like, hey, I should manage you guys. And then they walked in to the room and he like opened up a drawer.
That was Alice Cooper.
I'm pretty sure.
Was it Alice Cooper?
It was Alice Cooper.
Yeah.
Because he said, so they get Alice Cooper there for a meeting at the hotel, 2 days later. And I was like, well, why should you manage us? And he pulls open the drawer. And it's a shot that they made a lot of good shots. Right. All the stuff that was, made for this documentary of a young Shep Gordon, it's pretty cool. And he looks like, he looks like a Jewish white kid from Long Island in the 70s. He's got the fro, he's got the glasses.
The film aspect of it's really good. The editing is well done.
Yeah.
Like they make it seem like they had live footage of him having conversations with Jimi Hendrix, him having conversations with Janis Joplin. And that's the thing, like you get to hear such a really cool story. I'm not a Joplin fan. I'm not a Jimi Hendrix fan. Right. I'm not even an Alice Cooper fan. But this documentary, what I like about it is that it makes me like these people and I get to see their likability.
It's nice to see the glimpse into like the behind the scenes of Hollywood and kind of rock and roll and stuff like that. Right. Especially during that era. Mm-hmm. That's an era if you're into sex, drugs, and rock and roll at all, you, like that was the time.
And
that was
this
the
is
time,
the documentary
you know what I mean?
to watch for that. I think
it's a pretty good one.
Well, and I mean, one of the things that I think is really fun about the entire thing, and it also gives me a lot of like want to hang out with people and talk to them more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a shut-in. I don't really like going out. I don't really like hanging out with.
It makes you want to be more social.
It makes me want to be more social because he's commenting, like, when he meets Jimi Hendrix, when he meets Janis Joplin, when he meets Alice Cooper, he's like, we weren't anything. Like, nobody was famous.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody was like, we were just trying to eat. Like, and most of us couldn't. And we were just trying to do the thing that we wanted to do. And to think of a time period, because these people are such icons, it does make me sit back and think about the fact that it, like, Jimi Hendrix had rough years before he became Jimi Hendrix. And Janis Joplin had a long period of time where she wouldn't make any money and she couldn't do anything.
But a lot of those people who, when they have quote-unquote made it and make their money, they still look at those times when they weren't.
Those were the best times.
Those were, and it sounds so.
Were they though?
It's to us because we're
or
in it.
Or are you glorifying the memory?
We're in it, but it's like to them, there's like those were the best times. Any celebrity will say they're like, oh, when I was living in this apartment in the East Village, and it was like just me, and it was like Dustin Hoffman talks about living with like this other actor, I don't know who he lived with, who's also very famous now, and he's like, yeah, it was just us two and some other dude living in the East Village, and it was a real crappy apartment, and it was and we had rats and everything. He's like, man, I'll be honest, it's one of the most favorite times of my life. And is it because of youth?
But that's when it gets better, though.
Is it because of youth, or is it because of it's just a carefree time, less responsibility?
I don't know.
I think the main thing that it comes down to with a lot of that is that it's like, being poor.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as you I think the main thing to me is that they got out of it.
Right.
If they were still living in a rat-filled apartment,
nobody would care.
And they would hate that that's where they live.
Well, history's the winner's story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you get out of that, you then realize that it's like, well, if you're doing what you want to do and you're enjoying yourself, like, it's really not that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not terrible that you aren't getting, if you're like having fun.
Yeah, of course.
Because that's, to me, one of the
things. If you have a white Jewish dude from Long Island with a suitcase full of drugs who's just like handing them out,
Yeah, handing you.
There's all these stories. There's always someone who's kind of keeping the good times going, though. You know what I mean? Because like when I'm at my lows trying to make it in this crazy industry and business, I'm just broke. Sitting in my apartment like I can't afford to do anything.
Well, you gotta.
now.
That's why I think maybe that message is that we sort of kind of forget is that like you don't have to be. You can be broke, but you don't have to be broken alone.
That's true.
I think that's something to take from it. And I realized this as I said something before. I said that if you're like into music history and like you get to see all these rock stars and how they came up. But then at the same time, if I think about it, if you're big into celebrity chefs, this is the movie to watch.
Yeah, there's another one.
Yeah,
this is the movie to.
You could probably just find that like 10 minutes on YouTube and just watch that. That itself is like a short documentary on the history of like the Food Network and the celebrity chef.
It's like it gives you more of the background of who the guy behind it and how he made it all come together.
That's true. Yeah,
and it builds such a good bridge. That it's just like, oh, I didn't think Emerald Lagasse becoming a thing was a thing that had to happen.
Shep Gordon, and I'm interested to hear your take on this because I was a little skeptical, but is he kind of not invented, but he started independent cinema in the United States?
No, I mean, he didn't start.
And it kind of like what's independent cinema?
It's a bit what's independent cinema. The primary thing that he did was that he was, and I feel like, it's one of these things where I'm like, I hope that if I ever get to a level like what he was at, or if I have anything close to that I have the ability to do what he did, which is that he picked somebody that he thought was good, that he trusted to make decisions, that had good taste, and then he went, yeah, just go, just do it, just make the thing.
Right?
Is it? Like I like your taste. Make some stuff.
Yeah.
And was just, that to me is like the fun of what this guy had with his life, was that it was like, I think of a lot of people's work that they do. I like working a lot personally. I think of other people's work and what they do, and I enjoy their work. And he was the type of person where he looked at their work and went, I want to enjoy you as a human being. And I feel like that was one of the things that I took that like I've taken away from it, where I'm like, I need to start just doing that, like enjoying.
Yeah.
Like I like talking about work, I like doing all these different work things, but the reality is that it's like if I just enjoy human beings and they happen to make good work, and then I can be put in a position to go, oh yeah, make that thing, go make that thing that you've been talking about forever. It's just really like fulfilling.
Shep Gordon
really
opened a lot of gates for people.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that it's like he opened a lot of gates for people, where it's to the extent that's like every celebrity chef has is in some way because of Shep Gordon. But he just saw that as like a thing where it was like he was like, I'm not going to take any money off you guys. I don't need any more money. I'm just, this is wrong that you guys, like, he had a sense of right and wrong that I felt like was really like penetrating to what he did. And
constantly
really,
telling people to piss in the wind. Just go for it. Just go for it. Go right ahead.
He was a
I got a house in Malibu. Don't worry about it.
He is a moral compass, He is. He's just a genuinely good dude. That's why I think that's what throws me off.
That's the moral.
That throws you off?
No, I mean, I believe it. I believe everything. I mean, I'm sure there's things that got left out about this guy in this movie.
Right.
But
I'm sure he got head and never called some girl. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. You know
sure
what I mean? Someone's offended. There's someone out there who goes, Shep Gordon's got a movie out. The guy's a jerk.
Yeah, that guy's the worst.
Yeah. But
told me to piss in the wind.
We could all be a little bit more like Shep Gordon, and I really hope that if I ever get money, that I act this way and keep it down to earth. And
according to our last episode, you want to sell armored cars. So I don't really.
Well, according to you at the beginning of this episode, I'm like a broke Shep Gordon. That was very nice of you.
Yeah,
I can
no
take
problem.
that. It's soaked in.
Yeah.
I hope I am too. And my door's always open when I'm not here, though.
Yeah. All right, cool. What do?
I hope for next week you're taking us back into the realm of fiction.
What's fiction mean?
Jesus Christ.
What is that? Means fake, right? Okay,
Yes.
yeah, fiction. In a way, I am. In a way, I am taking us to the realm of fiction.
I know what he's gonna say.
We're watching.
Do not say what I think you're gonna say.
We're watching Noah with Russell Crowe.
Why?
I skipped over that, man. All right. Well, how long is that? 5 hours?
I don't know. First of all, sell it right. It's Russell Crowe.
Have you seen it?
No. He's done Gladiator, and I'm really excited to see this movie. I don't care. Listen, I'll tell you this. Waterworld flopped. Case in point.
What do you mean, case in point?
Case in point.
Save it for, okay.
We'll save it for next week.
Find out what I mean next week.
Kind of excited to watch it, I guess, because it's one of those movies I'd like to see, but I...
Tune in to flicksbookclub.com. Check the Twitter. Let us know what you think. All that good stuff. That it? Say goodbye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.